Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29, entitled Explanation of Devotional Service. Text 16. Madhishnya darshana sparsha puja stuti abhivandanai bhuteshu madbhavanaya satvena asangamena cha madhishnya darshana sparsha puja stuti abhivandanai bhuteshu madbhavanaya satvena asangamena cha madhishnya darshana sparsha puja stuti abhivandanai bhuteshu madbhavanaya satvena asangamena cha. Matajis. Dishnya darshana sparsha puja stuti abhivandane bhuteshu madbhavanaya satvena sangamena cha. Word meaning: mat, my; drishnya, statue; darshana, seeing; sparsha, touching; puja, worshipping; stuti, praying to; abhivandanai, by offering obeisances; bhuteshu, in all living entities; mat, of me; bhavanaya, with thought; satvena, by the mode of goodness; asangamena, with detachment; cha, and. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The devotee should regularly see my statues in the temple, touch my lotus feet and offer worshipable paraphernalia and prayer. He should see in the spirit of renunciation from the mode of goodness and see every living entity as spiritual. Purport. Temple worship is one of the duties of a devotee. It is especially recommended for neophytes, but those who are advanced should not refrain from temple worship. There is a distinction in the manner a neophyte and an advanced devotee appreciate the Lord's presence in the temple. A neophyte considers the Archa Vigraha, the statue of the Lord, to be different from the original personality of Godhead. He considers it a representation of the Supreme Lord in the form of a deity. But an advanced devotee accepts the deity in the temple as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does not see any difference between the original form of the Lord and the statue or Archa form of the Lord in the temple. This is the vision of a devotee whose devotional service is in the highest stage of bhava or love of Godhead, whereas a neophyte's worship in the temple is a matter of routine duty. Temple deity worship is one of the functions of a devotee. He goes regularly to see the deity nicely decorated, and with veneration and respect he touches the lotus feet of the Lord and presents offerings of worship such as fruits, flowers and prayers. At the same time, to advance in devotional service, a devotee should see other living entities as spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. A devotee is to offer respect to every entity that has a relationship with the Lord. Because every living entity originally has a relationship with the Lord as part and parcel, a devotee should try to see all living entities on the same equal level of spiritual existence. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, a Pandita, one who is learned, sees equally a very learned Brahmana, a Shudra, a hog, a dog and a cow. He does not see the body, which is only an outward dress. He does not see the dress of a Brahmana or that of a cow or of a hog. He sees the spiritual spark, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. If a devotee does not see every living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, he is considered Prakrita Bhakta, a materialistic devotee. He is not completely situated on the spiritual platform. Rather, he is in the lowest stage of devotion. He does, however, show all respect to the deity. Although a devotee sees all living entities on the level of spiritual existence, he is not interested in associating with everyone. Simply because a tiger is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord doesn't mean that we embrace him because of his spiritual relationship with the Supreme Lord. We must associate only with persons who have developed Krishna consciousness. We should befriend and offer special respect to persons who are developed in Krishna consciousness. Other living entities are undoubtedly part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but because their consciousness is still covered and not developed in Krishna consciousness, we should renounce their association. It is said by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura that even if one is a Vaishnava, if he is not of good character, his company should be avoided, although he may be offered the respect of a Vaishnava. Anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted as a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. The exact meaning of the word Sattvena is given by Sridhar Swami as being synonymous with Dhairyena or patience. One must perform devotional service with great patience. One should not give up the execution of devotional service because one or two attempts have not been successful. One must continue. Sri Rupa Goswami also confirms that one should be very enthusiastic and execute devotional service with patience and confidence. Patience is necessary for developing the confidence that Krishna will certainly accept me because I am engaging in devotional service. One has only to execute service according to the rules and regulations to ensure success. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are continuing our discussion on the Samvad of Mother Devahuti and Lord Kapila. Mother Devahuti draws the mercy of Lord Kapila by submitting herself in a very humble position, and she begins her enquiry, and thus we are all getting benefited by hearing the glories of devotional service, and she not only being inquisitive, but she is also intelligent in knowing the path of bhakti, and also she wants to know the other paths as well. So initially Lord Kapila describes the glories of devotional service, pure devotion, then he goes on to explain the jnana by which one gets detached, the Sankhya Yoga part, then the Ashtanga Yoga, the success of both of which depends on the execution of bhakti as well. So we saw Bhakti Mishra Yoga and Bhakti Mishra Jnana. Now we are seeing pure devotional service. So in this chapter also, Mother Devahuti glorifies Lord Kapila, addressing him as the Yoga Bhaskara, the sun of this all system of yogas. So naturally, sun gives illumination to one in darkness, wakes up a person who is sleeping in darkness, one who is fatigued due to material attachment. So that's how Mother Devahuti glorifies. So pleased with the please and glorification of Mother Devahuti, the Lord again started to respond with compassion. Now he is going to explain pure devotion, which he already explained in chapter 25, where we saw the qualities of pure devotional service, and how do you get it is by the association of the sadhus. And in this particular chapter, the key verse being verses 11 and 12, where the Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya, the characteristics of pure devotional service are described. Madguna Shruti Matrena Mahi Sarva Guhashaya Manogatir Avichinna Yata Gangam Basham Budau Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya hi Utahrita Ahaituki Avyavahita Ya Bhakti Purushottamai. So this month being the month of Purushottama, we are discussing on the devotion towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the translation goes like this: the manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. So this is the concept, and now it's being explained with the analogy of how Ganges, just as the water of Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. So this is the highest standard. Having known the highest standard, we are conditioned. Lord Kapila knows that those who are conditioned, they also do bhakti. The practitioner of bhakti, being under the control of the modes, he practices bhakti, and then the practitioner exhibits certain qualities according to the mode they are being covered by. So we saw a person in the mode of ignorance, how he does bhakti, in passion and in goodness. So definitely passion and ignorance can't be used. So coming to Sattva platform, how do we move towards pure devotion? So that is this particular section, starting from verses 15 which was yesterday. A devotee must execute his prescribed duties, which are glorious, without material profit. Without excessive violence, one should regularly perform one's devotional activities. Then today's verse is transitioning from being detached from your work and in applying the knowledge that you've got about the spirit soul, how you apply it and see others also as part and parcel of the Lord. So today's verse talks about, it's got two parts to it. The first part being the devotion activities. Practically, how do you engage in devotional service? In temple, there's deity forms. So what are the points discussed in today's translation? What does the devotee do? First point is darshana, then sparsha. So that's what use translation. I think I'm blocking the translation. So darshana, sparsha, then what else? So from your practical experience, what else you do for the deities? Offer something, that's good. What specifically was discussed in the purport? Fruits and flowers. So, okay. Then there was also another word mentioned, vandanai, which means offering prayers. So you all know a lot of different prayers, and then you go and recite in front of the deity, glorifying by reciting such prayers. So by reciting notable prayers, we are getting the Lord's mercy. We are entering into the mood of the exalted devotees who are offering those prayers. The Lord is pleased because we are acting as per what is being told by the acharyas, by the Goswamis, given to us by Srila Prabhupada. So reciting notable prayers is one of the activities you can perform in devotional service. It's listed in Nectar of Devotion. Now specifically, Prabhupada mentions this point about temple worship. So he says that it is a duty and it is a function of a devotee. So to begin with, I thought I will quote from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 13, regarding the glory of worshipping the deity in the temple. What will happen? So a word of caution is given by Rupa Goswami. Don't worship Govinda. You know this verse? Don't worship him. He has got a beautiful form. He is standing in the Keshi Ghat. His body is bent in 3 places. He has got a flute. And his head has got a peacock feather. So don't worship him. Don't worship him. Don't worship him. Because if you do so, you will lose your desire to enjoy with friends, family, and enjoy things in this material world. So this is a very famous verse of Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1 to 239. And this is being quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well, Adi Leela 5.224, where Srila Prabhupada quotes this quite often. So, in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada writes, if someone becomes attached to the Sri Murti or deity of Krishna by worshipping at home, then he will forget his relationship of so-called friendship, love and society. Thus, it is a duty of every householder to install deities of the Lord at home and to begin the process of worshipping along with all of his family members. So that's the process, and what's the result? You will lose your attraction towards dealings and this rasa that you get by going to friend's house, by going to relatives' house. That loving exchange that you get, that pleasure becomes insignificant compared to the pleasure you get by serving the deity in temple or at home. Prabhupada writes, all such nonsense will be forgotten if one stresses the worship of deities at home. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that verse Prabhupada begins, he says that this is practical devotional service, worshipping of the deity with different paraphernalia, offering various items to the Lord according to what he desires, as he explains in the Bhagavad Gita, what he likes. So, if such worship is done, then you will lose your taste for mundane association. So, this is a very metaphorically written verse, where it's called as Vyaja Stuti, where you're glorifying one thing, but actually you're glorifying one thing and condemning another thing. But actually what is being condemned is being glorified, and what is being glorified is being condemned. So Rupa Goswami, externally he condemns. What does he condemn in this metaphor that we discussed? So the interior meaning is that he condemns attachment to family, but externally it's as if he condemns, don't go to Keshi Ghat, don't see Krishna's beautiful form. So externally he condemns the worship of Lord Krishna, but actually he glorifies it. So this is a metaphorical way. And then the key point of losing your attachment to external things can be achieved only by developing attachment to seeing the beautiful form and serving the beautiful form of the Lord. So this is the duty and function of a devotee, and then there are different levels of devotees that are being discussed here. One is being the neophyte. Now, how does the neophyte see the deity? What's discussed in the purport? How does he see? Okay, so the neophyte sees that the Lord has appeared in the deity form. Yeah, so it's said that he sees the deity as a representation of the Lord. So in your real life example, can you recollect any representation of something else? Shadow of a tree. Okay. Good point. In a mirror you see a yeah. Okay. What else? So if you look outside, say for example there is a Commonwealth Games or Olympics happening, say for example, Then different countries participate. What do they bring if it's a inauguration ceremony? So how do you know that people are representing different countries? What do they carry? Flag. So it's a kind of a representation of that country. The entire country is being represented by that particular flag. So the vision of a neophyte is that he thinks that the deity is a representation of the Lord. Now, what does Prabhupada contrast that vision with of a advanced devotee? How does the advanced devotee see the deity? What's the difference? How does he see? Swayam Bhagavan. The Lord is standing there. That's how the advanced devotee sees, not as a representation. Now, based on what you have heard and read, can you give examples of advanced devotees seeing and serving the deity form because their vision is imbued with love? Can you give me some examples of advanced devotees who are serving the deities with this mood? Srila Prabhupada, very good. Any specific example? Good, yeah. If you read Leelamrita, you will get a lot of instances where Prabhupada, I heard Guru Maharaj's lecture where in a town where in the US, I forgot the exact place, Prabhupada standing in front of Gaur Nitai, he makes this point: your city is blessed because Gaur Nitai have arrived in your city. They are there and they are in your city. So, in the lecture, Gurudev was mentioning about how we were seeing them as statues, whereas Prabhupada was seeing them as Gaur Nitai. So that's the difference. Good point. Another example came to my mind is the entire struggle of the Ras Bihari temple. That now there's a whole book, I Will Build You a Temple, right? Because Srila Prabhupada is seeing them not as statues, but he wants to build a nice temple for them, but there are so many obstacles. If you read the whole episode, it's very dramatic, and then as a whole book has come out by His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, right? I will build you a temple. Meaning, Prabhupada is addressing the deities, I will build you a temple, meaning it is, they are there, and at this point, kindly adjust with this situation, but I will build you a bigger temple. And now, the entire Ras Bihari temple, if you go, how big it is, and it's considered as Prabhupada's office, right? Bombay is my office. So Prabhupada's quarters, everything is there. So that's how the vision of a Mahabhagavat is. Now, I thought some of you will tell about the local example where we are sitting. What did Prabhupada say to the deities? Yeah, I am leaving you in the hands of Melichas. Then, next line.
Please look after yourself.
Yeah, you please take care of the devotees. It's in those lines, right? We used to have that quote. So till today, and in the future also, the deities will fulfill the request of Srila Prabhupada, because he is seeing them as Sakshat Vrajendra Nandan. Why? Because their vision is imbued with Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. So that's the point which is being mentioned in the purport as to how these two see the same form of the Lord. One is seeing as a representation, other one is seeing as direct presence of the Lord. They are present. A few more examples of Srila Madhavendra Puri, how he takes that pain of traveling and getting the sandalwood paste so that he can serve the Lord. Another example you gave yesterday, no? The offering made by Raghunandan Thakur. So how the child wanted the Lord to eat and the plate is not getting empty. So he is pleading and pleading so that the Lord comes and eats. So another point came to my mind is this is from South India, in Kanchipuram, where this temple of Lord Varadaraj is there. There was one time where the priest was carrying milk to be offered to the Lord, and there was another exalted devotee who was standing just outside when the bhoga was going in, and then he could see that from the milk pot, the cup, there was vapors coming, which means it's very hot. So then this devotee requested, maybe we should cool the milk a little bit down, because if the Lord sips it, it will be too hot, it will burn his lips. The Pujari said, the entire universe is coming out of his mouth, and he can handle this heat. It's not a problem. But then this devotee insisted, and there was a little bit of friction between the Pujari and this exalted devotee. Then this devotee persisted, then he cooled the milk a little bit so that it's warm, not hot. And then the milk was offered. So as it was offered, then the Lord honored it, and then he felt that this is the same love that I got from my mother Yashoda. So then he addresses that devotee outside as mother. So this voice came as calling that devotee as Amma, which means mother. Just as Mother Yashoda took care of me, you're also taking care of me. So that devotee from then on was named as Nadadu Rammal. And then there's a whole lineage of devotees coming. So Lord Varadaraj is also known to speak to devotees when they are fanning him. This exalted devotee Kanchipurna, he will fan the Lord and then he will converse with the Lord, and it is through him only Sripad Ramanujacharya will have doubts. He will ask a set of doubts, and Kanchipurna will go and stand, and then he won't tell the questions of Ramanujacharya, but then he will tell, Ramanujacharya asked me to ask these questions. So the Lord will say, okay, these are the answers, before even Kanchipurna telling the questions. So one of the question is, should one remember the Lord at the time of death? The Lord Varadaraj will reply, not required. I will force myself into the memory of such a devotee who can't remember me at the time of death. So the point is, they are seeing the vision of that exalted devotee is that the Lord is present. And with Sakshi Gopal also is right. If you can speak, if you can talk, you can walk. So please come and give witness. Now here we are seeing the bridge between the Kanishta and the Uttama. How do you transition is to come to Madhyama. So that's the next theme that's coming up. How do you transition from Kanishta to Madhyama? Several points are there in this purport. Prabhupada begins the transition by saying that yes, a Kanishta worships the deity. He makes offerings. He respects the deity. At the same time, while you're doing it, to advance in devotional service, a devotee should see other living entities as spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. So this is a transition. How you not only see the Lord in the temple, but you also start to see others as part and parcels of the Lord. It's said that even in the Bhagavatam, I forgot the entire verse, but the exalted devotees are sitting at the feet of the Lord, and all the saranganam padambujam. These sarangas are sitting at the feet of the Lord. It's not just the exalted devotees that sit, but all living entities are part and parcel. So the same Archa Vigraha you are worshipping, other living entities are also part and parcel of the same deity who you are worshipping with veneration and awe. So one is asked to extend his vision to include, one is asked to raise his consciousness and to include other living entities, see them also as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada writes, because every living entity originally has a relationship with the Lord as part and parcel, a devotee should try to see all living entities on the same equal level of spiritual existence. So back to the basics. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, the section about the properties of the soul, it's all given. Soul is invisible, indivisible, eternal, all-pervading, primeval, can't be burnt by fire, withered by wind. What else? Tell me, one property of soul. Indestructible. Very good. Having said all of this, the Lord will induce Arjuna to fight. Because if I am getting too much knowledge, I am becoming detached, so I don't need to act. But still, the Lord, having given information, He will also give inspiration to fight. So after finishing the Jnana section, I am skipping the Karma Kanda section, coming to the Buddhi Yoga section, now I will start to explain where you are going to apply the knowledge that you have got in the previous section, and you have to start working without getting any sinful reactions. Esham te abhihita sankye buddhir yoga imam shunu. So start hearing about this Buddhi Yoga, where you are going to apply the knowledge that you have got in the Jnana section. Now you are going to apply it, which means you are going to see every living entity as part and parcel of the Lord. So the Kanishta, to transition to Madhyama, he has to use that knowledge, apply it, expand his consciousness and expand his vision, seeing others also as part and parcel of the Lord. So, to expand this vision, Lord Krishna himself gives how a learned man sees others. This famous verse, what's the famous verse quoted here? The verse starts with the letter V. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. So, this is from verse 18 of text, chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita. So, a few verses before that, chapter 16 onwards of this particular 5th chapter, the translation goes like this: when, however, one is enlightened with knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as sun lights up everything in daytime. It's very similar to what Mother Devahuti is praising Lord Kapila as, that you are that sun who is going to give the light. So the knowledge is going to reveal when one's intelligence, mind, faith and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So knowledge is there, then what has to be fixed? One's mind, intelligence, faith, refuge are all fixed in the Supreme. That's the process. Then what happens? As a result of it, one becomes cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Now, how does a person see others? Such a person, imbued with knowledge, the humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, 5.18, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. So, a key point about how to transition from Kanishta to Madhyama is being mentioned in this section purport 5.18. So the key point from this purport is that not to make distinction between different living entities and how Krishna views these living entities. He sees them all as his part and parcel. That's why as Paramatma, he is in the body of a cow, a dog, an elephant, a dog-eater, a Brahmana, everybody. He doesn't discriminate. The Lord is equally kind to everyone. That's the important point. The Lord is equally kind to everyone. In the same way, a devotee is also expected to be equally kind to everyone. This is the first point mentioned in this section about how do we transition from Kanishta to Madhyama. So both this, one has to see the spirit soul and Paramatma. If you look at the picture in the Bhagavad Gita to illustrate this verse, the Brahmana will be there and then he'll be having a vision of different living entities. A cow, a dog eater. In the picture, if you observe closely, there will be a spark and there will be a super soul. If you haven't, please go and check it out. There will be a spark and there will be a super soul in every different types of body, and the Brahmana is seeing them as equally. So again, one has to raise one's consciousness and expand his vision with kindness. So, does this equal vision mean one should not discriminate at all? So then to counterbalance that point, the Prabhupada makes this interesting in a funny and a sarcastic way, because all living entities are equal, don't go and embrace a tiger. Because I'm seeing the Lord, I'm seeing the spirit soul, all are equal, so let me go and embrace a tiger. So don't do it. A devotee is intelligent and he uses discrimination and he deals with living entities accordingly. So some living entities in the body of humans, you can try to reach out and share this knowledge because they will be in a position to hear. You are seeing them as part and parcel, but they have forgotten it. And so it is your duty to facilitate their remembrance of their connection with the Supreme Lord. In fact, this is the real compassion. So this is the second quality of transitioning from Kanishta to Madhyama, is that you show compassion to the real self, which is the soul, by facilitating their remembrance of their connection with the Supreme Lord. This could be done by giving them food which is offered to the Lord, which is prasadam, which is what was discussed yesterday. Without committing too much of violence, you offer food to the Lord and then that gets shared. And even a person in the level of Annamaya platform where he thinks only of food, he can also be elevated. So this is real compassion. So the next theme is, so we saw about kindness, compassion for transitioning, and then you also discriminate between different levels of devotees. So that's being illustrated nicely in the Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, where in the Vaishnava community there will be different levels of advancement of the Vaishnavas and you deal with them accordingly. So verse 5, Nectar of Instruction goes like this: one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotees who has undergone spiritual initiation, Diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service, and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So, for further explanation, you can go and read that verse and purport. So, this is to bring about a balance of discriminating even though you have equal vision. So, these two apply parallelly, simultaneously. You have an equal vision, but you know how to discriminate also. So, in that paragraph, Prabhupada makes a very important point. Anyone who accepts Vishnu as a Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted as a Vaishnava. Then there is a but. But a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. What are the qualities we discussed, which one has to consciously focus and develop? Is kindness, compassion. One more quality is coming up. I am discussing the sequence in which the purport is going. So, many times we may misquote another verse of the Bhagavatam and think that I don't need to develop good qualities, but here a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. So, this verse 5, 8, 12, which talks about Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana Sarvair Gunais Tatra Samasate Sura Harav Abhaktasya Kuto Mahat Gunan Manoratena Sati Davato Bahihi. In that, so that verse will be quoted and said that we don't have to develop, but the key word used is if you are akinchana. If you don't have any other desires save and except for propagating the mission, and you don't have any material desires, many material possessions, akinchana. If you are such a akinchana bhakta, then you don't have to specially endeavor for developing all the good qualities. His Holiness Sivaram Swami in his Varnashram books series, one of them he quotes this and he makes this point about consciously developing good qualities until these qualities reflect naturally as a quality of the soul. So until that point, one is expected to develop all the good qualities of demigods. And the last theme of today's discussion, which is the quality of patience, dhairya. Yeah, I think that's how Sahanishchayat dhairya. So this quality of patience is another quality the Kanishta can develop to transition to Madhyama and later to Uttama. So when elaborating on this particular topic of patience, I was hearing a lecture by His Holiness Niranjan Swami on this topic of patiently pursuing one's goals. So Maharaj was speaking on the Bhakti Aloka, that's the book. That book is by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, written to explain the themes discussed in Nectar of Devotion. So Maharaj was giving a seminar on that. I heard a portion of it dealing with patience. So where Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that neophytes may give up the process because they are becoming impatient and they want the results immediately. You remember another quote by Srila Prabhupada also. Certain things, even in this material world, for it to materialize and to give fruits, Prabhupada will quote hazelnuts, then macadamias, then cashew nuts and almonds. For them to fructify and come out, it takes time. So anything good to come out, it takes time. So one has to be patient. So coming back to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's point, if the practitioner is clear about the goal, which is to please the Lord and attaining and satisfying Him, if the goal is clear, one can be patient. if one loses track of the goal, one may become impatient and expect immediate results. Because even in the Gita it said, results are not within your hands. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. At the same time, don't be attached to not doing your duty. So becoming impatient and giving up the activity of devotional service is not recommended, because in that purport Prabhupada says inaction is sinful. So inaction is not an option. So yesterday's verse talked about prescribed duties, today's verse is talking about developing more goodness, being detached. So coming to the mode of goodness means you are increasing your level of patience. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that the internal mood of the sadhaka should be such that Lord Krishna will recognize me now or after 10 years or 20 years or after many lifetimes. I will still pursue with patience and continue with determination to execute my devotional service. So patience doesn't mean that you remain inactive. So you are active in doing the service, but you are patient in expecting the results. And to further illustrate this theme of patience, this famous verse is there. Prayers of Lord Brahma, 10:14:8. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. So the verse doesn't end there. So okay, I'm patient, I'm tolerating, I'm biting my teeth and tolerating and not doing anything. So while he is tolerating, what is he doing? Offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, word and body. Hrid vak vapurbir vidatan namaste. Jivetayo mukti padesa dayavak. So in that particular purport, the theme of karmic reactions and how a devotee may face reversals, all of that is being discussed. The Lord specifically arranges scenarios where it may seem as if there is no reciprocation from the Lord, and a devotee may go through some purification, which may not be very pleasant. So at that time, what the devotee should do and what he should not do, this point I picked up from 5.16-17 of the Gita, where the misgivings are given up. Means when you are enduring a tough period in devotion, when you are going through that patient period, don't develop resentment towards the Lord, don't develop resentment towards Guru, don't develop resentment towards the process of bhakti itself. So while enduring that period, when you're navigating through that period where you require patience, we can ask the Lord, because if we are having those resentful feelings, we can't approach the Lord, we can't approach the Guru, we can't apply the process, because that's a kind of a block. So any indications which the Guru is giving or the Shastras are giving will not reach us. So if we are without resentment, then we pray to the Lord, now what are the lessons that I need to learn? What is it something that I should give up? What is it that something I should start doing? What is it that I must continue doing with increased quality? What is it that... So if we are open to receive the guidance from the Lord, while we are patiently pursuing, then the guidance will come. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that I think it's the 10th chapter. You have joined an institution, you have a spiritual master, you are applying the process, but you are not intelligent enough to follow all the things that are mentioned by Guru. But if you are sincere, Krishna from within will guide. I forgot, I should have got the exact quote. So in that, so that gives us inspiration to carry on. So even if you're not able to fully meet the expectations of your spiritual master, if you're sincerely trying without developing resentment towards the process or Guru or Krishna and the scriptures and other devotees, if you're patiently pursuing, then the Lord from within will reveal what needs to be done. It could be simple steps which we could be missing, like some basics which we are missing, and we are pursuing in the wrong direction and being patient, so no results are coming. So then maybe it's time to change the course of action. Try to find out if something that's really basic, am I missing on it? So this, when I applied, I found profound results. I was missing something really basic which I'm expected to do, and I've been expecting results. So been trying in the wrong direction. So then one has to ask, what should I do? What should I stop? What should I continue? Then you'll get. So this kind of reflection help, and we can take lessons from the exalted devotees who are in the platform of bhava and prema, how they have patiently pursued, stuck to the process, and how they have got results. Few examples from the Shastra for devotees who have been patient is Mother Sita herself. When she was kidnapped by Ravana, she had a faith that Lord Ram will come, he will rescue me. He will rescue me. Remembering that, she maintained her life, patiently pursuing. The Pandavas, when they were enduring that period of being in the forest, facing so many dangers, parallelly they were working on their skills, developing their skills, making friends. And Arjuna was actively collecting weapons. So he was engaging in developing his skills while they were patiently going through the reactions of their misdeeds. It was not actually a misdeed from Pandava's point of view. I'm just saying that when they were patiently enduring their reactions of the pastime or the particular scenario which was arranged by the Lord, they were parallelly working on their skills, getting the blessings of, and when the time came, they fought. So, as Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says when describing the hardships of the devotees when they go through, he says that we can't expect bhakti to be an insurance policy where we can be, we have taken up bhakti, so nothing bad will happen to me. Krishna may protect you from a danger, prevent a danger from happening to you. He may not, but he will protect you in danger. So Parikshit Maharaj was saved from danger when he was in the mother's womb. Then later, Parikshit Maharaj was saved in danger by making him hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he got delivered. So this is how, by developing the qualities of kindness, compassion, and patience, these are a few qualities. So a Kanishta can gradually move to Madhyama, and then later, by pleasing the Acharya, can develop to the platform of Uttama. So I'll conclude here. See if there are any questions. Yes. Oh, yeah, it's all Prabhupada's. I'm just a. Thank you. All glories to Prabhupada. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaved ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai.